Hello everyone and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I want to talk about changing your buffs because the whole formula has been changed. The AP caps of various spots have been tweaked. There's no more species damage, and a lot of people, especially new players, are probably confused about this, and I've made a video previously talking about the best buffs you should use, but I want to talk about this after the change and how you guys can look at the formulas, how to basically make everything easier, and just talk about the buffs that I use overall. So with that said, if you are a new player, let me just teach you how you can figure all this out yourself. So you know how spots used to just be AP and everything? Now this isn't necessarily new, but the whole grind spot caps are a little bit different. So for example, this is what you're going to see by default. Just click the sword and shield button and you'll see your stats over here, and the grind spot is like, you know, just pick something randomly, and basically green is good, red is bad. If you are green, chances are you are within or beyond overcapped for various grind spot, right? So but the effective limit is full buffed. That means everything you have you'll see over here. And if you're way overcapped, you should try a higher spot, essentially. So, with that said, I want to teach some of you guys how to improve that number and maybe try a different spot, because in my Discord, I have a channel for gear help and everything, and then some people send screenshots of with everything, what buffs they use, your gear, and it's not necessarily always optimized, so this is what this video is for. All right, so I have a list of things you could use to use buffs and things that have been changed. So number one, cron meals have been changed, and simple cron meals are now changed to include back attack and I believe crit damage. So previously, if you were overcapped, you would use exquisites because they gave the extra special attack damage. Now that is added to cron meal for PvE. You basically just use this one. Exquisite is more for PvP nowadays, but yeah, before there was an option, now it really just simplified it, and simple cron meals for PvE across the board. This one gives 30 AP against monsters, which is always good, and then a lot of special attack damage, which is back, crit, and everything else. So yeah, it's very good to have, plus 30. The next thing I want to talk about is villa buffs. Now, whether you have a tent or not, there's a quest you could do to get a free one, which you have to manage every week, which is kind of annoying, but I mean, it's not $50. So if I were you, I'd get the tent on sale whenever you can, if you like grinding, because it's actually probably one of the most worth things I would recommend. So Villa Scrolls. If you don't have one, let me just show you how to get your thing. Or if you don't have a, what is it, Old Moon buff, you can't use it without the Villa Scroll. So you see these Villa icons right here down in Valencia, right? Basically, there's an NPC, you talk to them with a gold bar or like 10 mil or something, and you just get the Villa invitation that allows you to use it. But I have a video on how to get this for free. Leave it in the description if you care. So, Villa Scroll. Basically, if you are grinding, I would say about 99% of you guys are going to be using the body enhancement. The other one is for, you know, people are just pushing levels, which is a little bit less relevant, but it's still nice to have. But for everyone else, plus 10 AP, plus 10 DP is really all you want. HP is nice, resists are cool. But that's another way to get plus 10. And now that they removed the Carolyn buff, which was in Heidel, and all the other town buffs that gave various extra stats, other things you can do is the church buff. Now, if you don't know what church buff is, it's like right here. They call it church buffs because the NPC is always in a church. And basically you talk to them, and for either 2 hours or 5 hours, you're going to get an extra attack and protection buff. It's a little bit more expensive if you do it through the tent, but either way, it's just a bonus. Let me just show you what stats it gives real quick. So these are the same things that you would get through there. It's just a little bit more expensive, convenience tax. So plus 8 AP in accuracy, and then plus 8 DR and HP. So yeah, it's just nice to have. Make sure to add these to your rotation of buffs. I know it's kind of inconvenient. Eventually, I believe next month, they're going to have the all-in-one preset. So like, hopefully this just remembers everything you need to set up for your buffs at once. And so next thing I want to talk about is the horse buff. This is kind of, you know, one of those things that's not exactly beginner friendly, but it's something you get that's not too expensive, is the Krogdalo set. Now you need 5 of them to basically have it. And what it does is there's 3 different kinds of Krogdalo sets. There's one for AP, one for DP, I believe, and one for stamina or health resources. I have all 3 based on which horse I'm using, but the way it works is you see over here, I got a buff, right? Plus 5 AP. That is just nice to have for an hour. So 5 Krogdalo wind ones, and the way you can get it is search Krogdalo. Sometimes there'll be a sale. Yeah, so earth, wind, and sea. The wind is probably the most important, but if you're over capped in a spot, it might actually be good to, you know, try something else. Like, I would say actually damage reduction and evasion plus 3 is also solid, and HP and stamina plus 100 for the C one. It's not too bad either. So it really just depends what you're doing, if you're over capped or not. But I would say wind for most people is the way to go. And yeah, so if you have a Krogdalo Sanctuary, like each of my horses has 1 of the 3 different sets, but really it's just kind of a minimal thing. Now the next thing I want to talk about is house buffs. So as we all know, this thing right here is what people have been using. I've talked about this in previous videos of how this one is, you are just paying way more for convenience than buying the actual house thing instead. So people, basically this is plus 15 AP for an hour. The alternative way to get it is go to house decorations and buy one of these. This requires you to be in town, but you get more value out of it. So it's one of those things where, like, if you are min-maxing your silver, then you would buy one of these thingies or like any of the extra ones that give additional stats to it and use that instead. But I understand people are like, oh, 10 mil is different, but you know, over a year it does add up. Like, you know, 10 mil is 10 mil if you care. So these are more expensive. It's the convenience tax you pay, but at the end of the day, you do what you want. Rich will get richer. It is what it is. All right, so now we are going into elixirs and perfumes and all that stuff. So now that species damage is less relevant at the end game, there is still species damage, but that is considered in your total AP. So if you are not capped, that just adds perfume, like plus 15 to whatever species. So if you are over capped, the harmony itself is irrelevant. But if you were under the zone and you're fighting specific enemies, these are still good. So at the end of the day, what would I do? Depending on where you're at in the game, never use the normal harmonies, because the species ones will always give an extra 10% against monster damage reduction. It's the last line in the wall of text, whereas these do not give that one. So regardless, you should always be using a species type, and whether that's demi-human, comma, or human. I guess, like, if you're not above the cap, use the one that matters. If you are above the cap, use the cheapest one you can get. But roughly, they're all about the same. Just whatever you do, do not use the base one. Turn it into a species, and you're good to go. Now, people have been changing up the elixir thing, or perfumes lately. So Perfume of Courage is very good still, because it gives 200 HP and 20 AP. And Deep Sea is more special damage. So what do you use? If you are overcapped at the spot you are grinding, you use Deep Sea, because after a certain point, AP cap falls off, and you want to do special attack, back attacks, crits, down, air, and so on. But Perfume of Courage is not useless anymore. It's still good for like newer players and everything. So you should probably still have both. They're the same price. It's just the difference is a lot of people are at the end game, which makes this more expensive. There's like 55,000 orders, at least here on NA. Whereas Perfume of Courage is only like less than 1,000. So that's the difference. If you are, let's say you're not willing to spend as much, you would be using bracings. I remember using this one. It's more HP, and I would say this is more useful for bossing, so like your party shrines and everything, just because the HP and the monster damage for like bosses scales a little bit differently, so it's one of those things where HP is actually still relevant. So yeah, if you're going for time and leaderboards, Deep Sea is the way to go. If you're just trying to complete it, survivability is the best way. So you would want to go Courage or Bracing. And then, I actually unironically don't think Frenzies are that bad anymore. Like, if you are undercapped, then Frenzies are also good as an alternative to Harmonies. This is more for like a new player thing. Just like, I understand new players come into the game and they're like, oh my god, buffing is so expensive. You're spending 80 mil on Harmonies plus like, another 90 mil. So that's like 200 mil an hour just on buffs alone. And so people like are not making that much an hour as a new player. So I would recommend Frenzies for that. And or if you're just trying to level in safer areas, whatever, Beasts, Frenzies. But yeah, best in slot, Harmonies with some sort of Perfume combination depending on your gear, and then every other buff that they give you for events and everything. So with that said, next we got to talk about the fairy and mostly the continuous care. So this is the fairy that I have. Admittedly, I have spent more on this fairy than I really wanted to, but the important things you should get while grinding is at the highest priority, Miraculous Cheer. This auto uses potions at a 2-second cooldown, and basically the tier is dependent on the cooldown timer. So for example, if we looked at this one, where is it? The cooldown is 6 seconds at 1, and then like it goes down 1 second per tier. So ideally you do want to have a Miraculous Cheer 5 as high priority. Everything else is nice to have. Like Feathery Steps just increases your weight limit to 125%, so you can carry more without, actually having to pay to win for that one. And then Continuous Care. Now, here's what I have set up on my Continuous Care. This is kind of what I change up depending on what I'm doing. But for PvE, Cron Meal, 1 elixir, 1 perfume, and then you could swap that out, and then just whatever buffs you have going on as well. And that's about it. So if you don't have a Continuous Care 5, because these are 15 item slots, what I would do is just remove that here. You'd have this one and then a perfume going on, and then on your quick slot, just slot a Harmony over here and just pop it every 15 minutes. So back in the day, I cared more about my Continuous Care because a lot of new players probably don't know about this, but we had to use blue elixirs, and this is actually unironically the rotation of blue elixirs that you had to have on your fairy. And so that was like 15 slots or something, maybe more or less. Yeah, so you didn't use all of them, but you used about like 15 of those. So it was more inconvenient to put these all on a slot. That's why the fairy exists. But now that Harmony does, you just push the button every 15 and you're good to go. So anyway, with that said, fairy is what I have. And then here's how I set up my elixirs or potions and everything. So if you have infinite potions, make sure to put that there. One tip I would give you all is if you have infinite potions, put them in your family inventory. I know you don't get a lot of inventory slots if you're new or don't pay to win for that one, so you get like 4 slots total. 2 of them should be your infinite potions. That means you can use them on all your characters, and it's just really nice to have. You never have to think about it again. The next thing I would put in your family inventory is loot scrolls. Play a lot of characters, that's the most important thing. And then probably a perfume. So your 4 slots as a free-to-play player: infinite potions, being 2 of them, loot scrolls, and 1 perfume. And after that, you just pay more, and then you get more convenience. All right, so with that said, I think that covers everything. We talked about food buff, villa buff, tent, or like the tent bonuses, house and horse buff, elixirs and perfumes, and the fairy. So with that said, there are probably other ways that you can get extra, like let's say you're going for like 300% item drop rate, doing the guild skills right here, the item drop rate, and then basically I had a question once on what's the best way to get 300% or the highest you can. So 100% from a level 1 or 2 scroll, which would be your base number plus 100%, and then guild buff, and then any other event thingies that you have going on here. So like all these event scrolls that they give out. And another one being the Gearins tier is another 10%. So that in theory should get you to, you know, close to 300. And then of course, if you have Blessing of Commissylve, I would say this is a little bit less relevant these days. So it's just kind of convenient. Of the 3 pay to win things, Value Pack is the most important, followed by Old Moon, and then Comma Blessing is the least important one. So yeah, that's how you do it. Hopefully all of you guys maybe learned a few things, and just know, if you're curious to know where to grind and all that stuff, what I would do is go to this Monster Zone tab, right? And then sort by ascending order. So that means you can search from lowest to highest AP. So by that, it means like this thing over here. And then click the view stats, and then just look at things where it's like where you're in your AP range and monster limit, and then try those spots and see what you would think is helpful, and then look at Garmoth, and then that's basically it. So try new spots. I know a lot of people grind, you know, the meta spots. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I just think there are more than one spot to grind. You know, you could try things out that's not Hung Lim. But anyway, with that said, that's what I would do. Just search for various spots. Maybe you'll find something that's more fun, and then find a spot that, you know, works within your area. So anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, happy to point you guys in the right direction. Leave it in the comments, or you can join the Discord and everything, and you'll be good to go. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.